What if I told you that you could reach the highest level of whatever you wanted in life if you just decided at the blink of an eye, the first thing in the morning, to believe in yourself and implement your confidence that you already have? And some of us get it buried. No longer will you bury your confidence, because now we're going to focus on just a couple of things that'll help you as we dive into the fight show. And we have a special guest, and at the exact same time, we're about to talk about some boxing. So, special shouts out to me, first and foremost, for holding on to this platform, The Fight Show, for 10 years this year. It has been a ride. And if there's something that you are trying to do, I'm going to tell you this: don't let anybody get in your way, because there was no path painted for me when I began this. And within inside of 2 years, I got an offer to work for ESPN. I did it for almost 4 years. I got opportunities to work side by side at the highest level in the sport, even past the time that I was working as a trainer. It goes to show you, when you commit to something in your life, that everything becomes possible. The only thing that gets in most people's way is they stop moving. Have you ever taken time to rest and you rested too long, and then you started to think about a lot of stuff that you haven't accomplished yet or you haven't gotten done? And then you looked at someone that's next to you, not physically but next to you, that you see on your phone, that you may see out in public or you may hear about, and all of a sudden they're just hitting this mountaintop. Make sure you check in and let me know where you're watching from. They're hitting this mountaintop and you're just kind of right here at the bottom of that alley. And it feels like you're really not going anywhere. It feels like you're working your butt off for nothing. And then all of a sudden, someone tells you, even the tortoise walked very slow as the rabbit just left him in the smoke. The end of that story ends: patience is a virtue, because you don't build a mountain overnight, and neither was Rome. It's easy to get to the corner store real fast, but if you want to go far, you need time to build a team so that you can go far and high and wide. And that's why your road is on the straight narrow, but it has turns and curves and obstacles and things that'll help shape and mold you for the level that you're actually going to permeate on. That's what you are experiencing right now. So don't let that negativity and that anxiety creep into your head, because the reality is you're about to blossom. That might be a week, it might be 6 months, it might be 2 years. Enjoy the ride. Take away that anxiousness to be where Elon Musk is, and where Jay-Z is, and where Andre Agassi and all the people that are in position right now, because your time is coming. The thing about it is you got to be ready for the time, because it looks like it's so awesome to be at the top, but there are a lot of responsibilities. And what does my mother say? With great talent comes great responsibility. Well, his father, his grandfather. With great talent comes great responsibility. Let me know where you're watching from. Check in. Coach Eric A. Bradley here, aka this is the Fight Show, and we are getting it popping. So let me know exactly where it is you're watching from. Make sure you check in and um, tap the like button so that Facebook knows that you want to see this smoke when we get into it. Special shouts out to my brother, to my guy, Coach Robert from out here in Aussie. It's good to see you, brother. My guy here and his boys just had a fight over the weekend, and learning is the biggest thing that you're going to do at the beginning. You need plenty of repetitions. You need a lot of experiences because several years ago we started the school, and a young man said, all about we've never lost. And I said, okay, well, you're never learning. Let me see who else is here. Do practice all styles of footwork or just focus on one? Step and slide footwork and push step footwork and pendulum footwork. Take your time, get one muscle memory down at a time, right? Because if you know how to throw a jab right, then guess what? Now you can focus on the variations of the jab, and then you'll have more options. So just remember, this is chess, it's not checkers. You're learning the hardest sport to learn in the world, bar none. Even my friends in the mixed martial arts world will tell you, okay, well, I did jujitsu, I did hapkido, I did muchada, I did karate, I did kickboxing, and boxing by far is the toughest to learn. There's so many of your neurotransmitters that have to fire off because even though you're boxing with your hands, which you think, you're actually boxing with your feet. So if you've been taught striking a lot and you have not really understood the mechanics of what happens down below, then it's a long ride, man. It's a very, very long ride to get to where you need to get to. So with that being said, just take your time, one bite at a time, and move this thing a little bit at a time and grow over the course of time, because everything you don't have right, as I always like to be clear with the coaches when they would come into our gym, which we do not have a physical gym anymore. For all of you who are like, I want to come over to your place, we are an institute of higher learning. We provide programming systems and operations for your business, and that's what we do. We always warn the guys, though, if you're slipping in any area, don't get into the ring and spar with our guys, because we were groomed to see every hole you had in your game and we would expose you. And so, after any one of those guys would choose to spar, the next time they would say, no, I just want to do drills. And we're talking about guys that some of the guys that you're watching now. They just didn't understand. We teach educated fighters. Our system is educated fighters. And when you get it down, which it takes years to get it down, you'll understand. If you have a full-time job, but you box for the love of the sport, how many week training camp could you advise, coach? That's a good question, Aaron. I'm glad you asked me a question that a lot of guys are wondering. When you are operating and you work full time, like 90% of real boxers had to do first, what we figured out was really rest when you're resting. Your body's really young, so you can get away with a lot of stuff. But rest when you're resting, and realize that if you don't get the muscle memory down, the skills, the skill sets, the technique, the craft, the caginess, if you don't get it down, you never progress. So if you're just boxing for the love of it, don't box against high level boxers. Train according to the level of competition, because if you can't sacrifice the time, don't sacrifice getting into the ring at a high level. Now, remember, promoters and matchmakers will throw you in there if you're fighting pro against guys that they just want to pad their record. So you got to be careful about that. Okay, that's facts, and they will put you in a position to get smoked. So don't sleep on the fight game, because the fight game is really, it's a game. All right. And it can get very, very grimy. So just keep that in mind. Now, what I would advise you to do is to take precedence in what do you really want out of it. and write that down, put it on a note card, and then you'll find yourself starting to make a decision. Let me see what you got here. We got Tony Cornejo, best boxing equipment brand for beginners. Depends on if you're a heavy hitter, you go with those Grants, Cleto Reyes. If you got soft hands, meaning you get a lot of injuries, you go with the Winnings. If you got all around glove, is Everlast because it's been around for the longest period of time. They've had time to make adjustment, but right now the state of the art of gloves, it's just all gloves know the competitive nature of having the right kind of padding and structural design is uber important. So those things will just be first and foremost. You got a lot of off brands that's just coming out. You got to be careful about a lot of those brands. Learn how to wrap your hands right. There's several hand wrapping videos up here. One is the last one that was done was about the metacarpal. So if you have a lot of metacarpal issues, you have to watch that one. And we had a Caucasian young man doing the hand wrap, red hand wraps, and then the other one is for guys who have boxer's knuckle. So that was us demonstrating how to do it. And you create the pad, and then you learn how to wrap that pad into your fisticuff. Most of those things are really essential. Now, the biggest thing that you got to pay attention to, and I'd advise you do, is punch mechanics. So if you are learning how to punch and you're watching videos all over YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, trying to figure it out because everybody's doing it different, find a system, right? So we have one of them that's really good. Our first one teaching punch logistics is Punch Pads for Pros, and it teaches the mechanics of the rotation and clipping, and Mint Master too. More combination punching and without breaking your bones down. These things are important. I bet you've probably hit something and you hurt your hand. How many of you have hit a bag and you like, gosh, that was not right? What did I just do? You're developing boxer knuckle, right? And once that metacarpal starts to fracture, every time you strike it, then even if it's right, you're breaking it down, and now you're developing calcium deposits and minor tears inside of the ligaments, and they will never heal. Floyd Mayweather fought half of his career with a bad hand. So literally, he was beating guys with one hand, and then he moved up into a weight class at 47 in a couple of fights at 54, and he was fighting bigger, stronger guys. So for him, he learned very young. Oscar De La Hoya did the exact same thing. Once you hurt your hand seriously, forget about it. You got to have the skill set of somebody like these guys in order to survive. So you got to be careful. So even if you're boxing and you're just at the gym, or you got a bag at home, or somebody's holding pads, say, hey, let's work on punch logistics first. First, get your balance, learn how to bend your knees, then sit down in your stance. And then you'll feel clean with your punches, right? You have to be smart. And fortunately, most of you who knew that you wanted to learn higher, those happen, that method happens in drills over the course of repetition, consistency with that program that you've been in, and the program does not let you forget to focus on an area. That's the biggest benefit for me as someone who writes programs and systems, is that we give you a way to never forget a thing that you need to do, right? So we got the rice bucket training for the ligaments and tendons. And so that makes your hand strong, thick and dense. And that's important. So take this with a grain of salt. Never skip stuff. And if you're not in a real program, like a lot of you just box because you go feel like it, and so you just kind of do some stuff, that's the worst thing that you can do. And if you're doing that, I'm talking to you. And of course, yeah, it matters to me because we want to never have people training in a way that they only feel like they're by themselves. So If you don't do anything today, just subscribe to the website. Subscribing is free because we give value. We don't need this to feed our mouths. We do this part so that you don't go out here and get your head cut off in boxing. We want you to learn it the right way and understand that if you learn it right, you can teach it to someone. If you have not learned it right, do not be out here trying to teach someone else. Okay. Please don't. That is, I see so many people. Oh, I boxed in the amateurs. That means you're an amateur. You're not, you're not officially ready to teach something when you're in the midst of learning. Would you let a brain surgeon who started 6 months into school operate on your mother's brain? Absolutely not. So I hear you. I see Mr. Crawford Spence. Let's go. Yes, absolutely. That's going to be a good fight. I'm about to get into that before we chime out. I've learned the slower the better when you're starting out. The slower the better when you are experienced. Watch Andre Ward. Matter of fact, Andre Ward's his documentaries on, and at the same time you got to watch people who've done it and done it the right way in order for you to know that what you're doing is not right. If you don't have any real skin in the game in boxing, it's fine. Just don't be trying to teach somebody, and don't be up here trying to tell people that they're doing something right and wrong, especially if you box when you were coming up as an amateur. You got all of a year and a half, 2 years vested. You're not credible. Okay. When you get into 20, 30 years really doing this stuff, then you got credibility. It's too much that you don't know. All you learned was that there's a lot more to learn. And so special thanks to each of you though who are coming on the page. And I see that there's so much to be said, but we're going to talk about Spence and Crawford for a second. And then, like I said, the key is knowing when you're going into training. There's places that you can go to really decide what you want to do. And the first thing you have to do is you have to make a decision. What do you want out of the sport? Don't be delusional. Boxing is just like playing professional football. There's a whole lot of people involved. So if you're just one guy with a dream and you're trying, you need to understand over the course of time, you need to build a team of people that will support you because you're going to need it. Because there's a lot of things that actually need to be addressed in the sport. Timothy Bradley was on the record saying fathers should not be their sons' head trainers because that's getting very dicey these days. Should they be there? Because his father was in the corner, he just wasn't the chief. It's a real slippery slope because fathers just don't know how to hand it over or accrue new people that will actually bring value to the team because they're so controlling. So, with that being said, I do understand that they have that one other thing over that fighter. I'm your daddy. And that's not always good. You can see a lot of things coming out of this era, the good and the bad. And a lot more of it is negative stuff if you look at it from a functionality standpoint. We just seen it recently, just several weeks ago. And all we could do is say, let's make sure that we contribute to the game. If you see that there are boxing matches coming on, commit to watching them if you can. That's how you support the sport. If you're trying to become a competitive athlete, stop making excuses. Go to Google, find your local gym, commit to going every day. Don't expect the coach to go sacrifice his time. You go there, sacrifice. And when you are seen sacrificing, that's when people start to buy into you. But you have to sell what you are, what you bring, consistency. Go to the gym for 90 straight days without expecting anyone to help you, because you don't become visible until after they get tired of seeing you. And then they start to say, that's what you're supposed to do with people that are serious about the sport. You're supposed to get tired of them, because if you really gonna box, if you are out here and you're trying to run your program and you got athletes mad at you because you want to train the people that have proven themselves, you can't worry about that, because, like I said before, people will get to a place in their lives where they are entitled to think that way. Those are the guys that would have never made it in boxing. You have to realize the mentality has to be Marvin Hagler like. You have to be like Tommy Hearns, get knocked down, get back up, knock somebody else out. You know what I'm saying? You have to have that kind of a willpower. You can't have that kind of willpower if you expect people to help and kneel to you. That's not reality. That's not life. That's why you're making no impact in the sport right now. So think about being positive. Think about having someone else impact impacted by the way that you move, the way that you encourage other people. I didn't grow and expand until I started impacting more people. And that's what we're doing. So, if I were to give you any advice, it would be to not be in a entitled state of mind. It would be to, what can I do more for people? What can I do to really bring value to their life? How could I help them ascend? And that means go up, not be jealous or envious or in a competition. Because when you start to soar, there's no one in your league. There is no such thing as competition, because when your vision is painted, there's no one that can paint your vision, no matter if they watch everything you do. Even a twin brother can't have your same DNA. They look like you, but under the microscope, they have a different DNA. And so will your work, your life's work, your legacy. There are four stages of life. First, you set out goals. And those are the things that you can see front and center. I need to lose 20 pounds. I need to get a job. I need to go to college. I need to contribute more time to charity. And then you start on your next phase, which is your mission. And that is more purpose based. Your mission is what gets you through this entire chapter. So your mission is serving people higher, giving yourself to charity, making sure people remember how you impacted them, using your voice in the world of keynote speaking, starting to sing in a choir, aiding people as a volunteer, purpose driven. The next phase of your life is when you start to achieve your vision. When you were a little boy, you saw yourself as something. It could have been going off to medical school. It could have been being a lawyer. It could have been owning a farm. It could have been something that has something to do with what people envision. And those are things people envision: a big house. And the fourth chapter of your life is called where you embark in on your quest. And your quest is the exact same thing that happens when you have all the money, all the assets, all of the support. You've accomplished everything you needed to accomplish. Now you're here doing the work that your DNA was set here to do on planet Earth. to impact the earth. So if that's mission work, if it's like like Bill Gates is changing the water systems in third world countries so that they could drink fresh water. It's real things. Elon Musk is sending people to Mars. You feel me? And that's quest. You might want to stop world hunger like Tony Robbins, feeding over 1 million people. Okay? That's quest. So money is not important anymore. The only thing that's important is your quest, and your goals get you to one phase. Then your mission gets you to the next phase, and then your vision is accomplished, and then you can set out on your quest. So if you're wondering what's pressuring you, it's because there's something here for you to do more that you're not getting to. And that is understandable because a lot of people don't understand why they're in the headspace that they're in, because there's so many chapters to that novel that's required to be your book. And so, just as I say, stay patient, get in circles of people that are further ahead than you. Because if you get in a circle of people that are like you, then that's as high as y'all can go. If you run sprints with people who can only run, a 4.7, then that's as fast as you're going to go because you have no one pushing you or pulling you with their draft. And that draft is what happens when something passes you faster and it pulls you. You get caught in that backdraft. And so that's what you have to do. Find people who are further ahead, and then you get in that circle. But you have to bring value. People at a higher level don't just let anyone in their circle. So you have to be willing to sacrifice. You can't be entitled, and you can't expect. You just be willing to serve. And it takes a long time to understand what that looks like. So that's it, man. Anybody got any predictions? Leave it in the comment boxes below. Special shouts out to my brothers in the Top Training You program. I think Mosley was supposed to come on. I'm positive he's still doing his thing after celebrating. So we'll give him a pass. We'll get him on. But my thing for you is to remember this. You're already super successful inside. That's why you believe inside that it's going to happen. Just keep that confidence. Shave your face, cut your hair, put on your smell good, take a great shower, go get a pedicure if you're a dude. Do something and do things that make you feel better than you ever felt. Then go out and start facing the world and never stop speaking your voice, and always allow people who are trying to get in your circle. And if they don't fit, serve them something that gives them value, and gracefully put yourself where you need to be. Don't be afraid. You'll learn more and more from the right people. And that's all I got. Continue blessings to all of you guys. Save this post for later. Share it on your timeline and make sure that you continue to support, because we are going to continue to give you something to help ascend your life. And if you have questions, make sure you go and visit our website so that you can get more impactful lessons on how to operate when you have a treasure of gold in your hand, how to use it. Subscribe. We got you covered. Until next time, be blessed at God's speed. So long. Coach Bradley, and I'm out.